The Framingham School Committee consists of 9 members elected from each city district for a 2-year term. The mayor serves as an ex officio member by virtue of office and only votes to break a tie vote. The school committee adopts and oversees the administration of an annual operating budget for the school department, appoints a superintendent of the schools, and works to make all reasonable rules and regulations for the management of the public school system. The following school committee meeting coverage is brought to you by the Government Channel, a service of the City of Framingham.
At 7:12 p.m. School committee meetings provide American Sign Language, Spanish, and Portuguese interpretation via Zoom. You can find the instructions on how to access live interpretation on the agenda on the school committee's website and when you register for Zoom. A reminder to members and all in attendance to speak slowly to allow time for interpretation, as well as speak into the microphone. Otherwise, those on Zoom cannot hear those in the room. In attendance tonight, we have District 1, Rich Robles, District 2, David Gordon, District 3, Jen Moshe, District 4, Adam Freudberg, District 5, Judy Steyer, District 6, Valerie Ottaviani, District 7, Tiffany Maskell, District 8, Jessica Barnhill, District 9, William Labarge. Student Advisory Chair Deborah Davitoria is attending remotely. Ex officio Mayor Sisitsky will not be in attendance tonight. We're also joined by member-elects Lorena Tovar, Kyle Shepard, and Brent Lewis. From the district, we have Superintendent Dr. Tremblay and Executive Director of Finance and Operations Lincoln Lynch, attending Lincoln Lynch, and the Assistant Superintendent Pre-K to 12 Education, Ann Ludis. This meeting is live on the Government Channel and can be viewed live on the Facebook page at Framingham Public Schools Facebook page. A recording of this meeting will be archived on the City of Framingham and School Committee's website as soon as possible. Meeting materials can be accessed on the School Committee's website with tonight's meeting date. Members of the public can participate via Zoom, specifically during public comment. To join the meeting for public comment, join through Zoom or by calling this number, 1-305-224-1968. And the webinar ID is 840-9805-9158. Tonight's agenda includes public comment, announcements from the chair, student advisory committee remarks, superintendent's update, assistant superintendent for pre-K to 12 education update, executive director of finance and operations update, annual evaluation of the school committee's executive assistant, subcommittee reports including finance and operations and policy, approval of gifts and minutes, and adjournment. We'll start with public comment. At every regularly scheduled school committee meeting, we reserve 15 minutes of for members of the public who may wish to speak on a topic within the school committee's purview. Guidelines for public comment are on the school committee's website. All comments will be accepted as advice to the school committee, but may not be responded to tonight. If you request follow-up, provide your contact information and indicate in your remarks if you would like follow-up. The matter is in the superintendent's purview, he will respond, or his office will. If it's in the school committees, we will respond. Again, if you're participating by Zoom, use the raise hand feature. And if you're participating by phone, you can press *9 and wait to be recognized. Call-in number again, 1-305-224-1968. Webinar ID, 840-9805-9158. Remarks, including any personal attacks to anyone, including members of the administration or members of the school committee, will not be tolerated. All right, we'll start with in-person, and I apologize in advance. You have 3 minutes, and I'll have to cut you off at 3. I'll give you a warning when your time is about to expire. Up first, we have Susan Petroni. Welcome.
Good evening. Susan Petroni, Public Information Officer for the City of Framingham, District 8 resident, but I am speaking tonight as the co-chair of the 325th Committee. For those of you unaware, Framingham is celebrating its 325th anniversary this year. Our big signature event was Framingham Fest, which wouldn't have been successful without Bob Tremblay's help. I think the best part of that event was the mascot competition, and we drew close to 5,000 people in the community for our first ever event. And so I'm coming here tonight to give each of the school committee members a coin. We are going to continue to celebrate the 325th year through our 326th year, which officially is on June 25th, 2026. So I just want to present each of you with a coin.
Oh. Where'd that one come from? Thank you. All right, next up we have Erin McDonald. Come on up. And I did take the sign-up sheet too, so if anyone is here and would like to get their name on it, feel free to put your name down. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I don't have coins. My name is Erin McDonald. I've been a special education teacher at Blocks Preschool for 25 years. My colleagues have asked me to speak as a representative of the teaching staff tonight. We greatly appreciate the district answering our many questions regarding this 5-day proposal, but there is still work to be done. Our concerns that still remain: an evaluator position. In regards to the House Evaluator, we had this position the 23 and 24 school year and the 24 and 25 school year. However, this position was eliminated each school year, mid-year, due to teacher coverage needs in our building. We have very little confidence that if this in-house person is designated as a primary evaluator, that the position will be sustained given past history. If the 5-day model moves forward, we respectfully request that the primary evaluator be a position that is formally and financially secured. Equity. Equity has been cited as a justification for advancing the proposed 5-day model. However, it is unclear how this transition promotes equity when block SPED students are currently instructed by dual certified special education teachers who hold master's degrees. In contrast, students at all other early education sites receive special education services through a push-in model due to the fact that their classroom teacher is not dually certified. It is important to ask whether the school committee is aware of this discrepancy, as it represents a significant inequity that the proposed 5 model does not address. Our school district needs to address this inequity before moving forward with this model. Time on learning. A time on learning schedule was developed. However, teachers do not believe it is sustainable. Moving forward with the 5-day model without thoughtfully examining the impact of shortening the school day to end at 1:30 raises significant concerns surrounding the developmentally appropriate needs of our youngest members of the Framingham community. The committee overseeing the 5-day proposal should resolve this concern before proceeding with the proposed model. Curriculum prep. Moving forward with the 5-day model without thoughtfully examining the impact of shortening the school day to end at 1:30 raises significant concerns regarding how paraprofessionals will be able to support the extensive material preparation required for effective instruction. Our youngest members of the Framingham community who have special education needs learn best through hands-on, developmentally appropriate materials. This requires substantial preparation and organization. Paraprofessionals are essential to this work, and the proposed 30 minutes at the end of the day is insufficient. The issue must be addressed by the 5-day proposal committee before the model is implemented. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our concerns. We hope your vote will be to support providing blocks teachers with additional time to thoughtfully contribute to the implementation of a 5-day model in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Christy Keene.
Good evening. I first want to start by thanking all of the school committee members and members-elect who have taken the time to come and visit blocks in the past 2 weeks. It is greatly appreciated by the staff that you have made that effort to come and see what it is we do in our important work. My name is Christy Keene, and I am a special education teacher at Blocks Preschool. I'm here tonight speaking for myself and my colleagues. I want to begin by expressing our appreciation for the solutions that have been addressed over the past week, and to reiterate that we do believe in and support the benefits of a 5-day program. What we do not support is rushing a 5-day program without the appropriate supports in place to ensure meaningful impact for students and minimal disruptions to their learning, particularly given our dual role as special education teachers. We look forward to continued solutions in the coming year that address our concerns. Tonight, however, I want to address the disparaging comments that were made about the work we do at Blocks during the December 3rd school committee meeting. Some remarks felt dismissive and disrespectful to staff. In response to a question about our dual roles, the work of adapting curriculum was reduced to a simple, you read a story, direct quote. That statement fundamentally misunderstands what we do. While the focused curriculum provides adapted materials virtually, our students need hands-on physical materials. That means printing, laminating, cutting, binding, and physically modifying books so students can access them. It means rewriting adapted sentences that don't include the required vocabulary. They cannot access the books as written. For example, one book's target vocabulary included words like spoil and inspire, but my students were still struggling identifying the basic words of horse and cow that were in the book. I invite anyone who believes you read a story, to come into my classroom and try doing just that. I teach a substantially separate classroom of 5 students, all with IEPs that legally require individualized accommodations and modifications. I have with me tonight this bucket of adapted materials, just so you can see what 10 weeks worth of the minimal adaptations looks like. It's right there. While some might argue that we are not required to do this work, the reality is that without these adaptations, our students cannot meaningfully access the curriculum. I chose this year to try the provided materials because I simply do not have time to create everything from scratch while also managing special education paperwork and legal timelines. Other teachers have created their own adaptations that better meet student needs because the provided ones are not enough. A play-based curriculum does not mean we are just playing. We are teaching literacy, math, science, social studies, social-emotional skills, communication, motor skills, how to play, which is very important, how to function in school, and how to meet individual specialized education goals. We are not doing less than our elementary peers. We are teaching more.
About 30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will leave you with this. Many responses to our concerns suggest that the solution is for us to stop going above and beyond. Please consider what our students' experiences and outcomes would look like if we only did the bare minimum. And please know, we do not just sit, play, and read stories. Thank you.
Up next, Christine Mulroney.
Good evening. As president of the Educators Association, I'd like to take a moment to recognize an important transition on this committee and to speak on behalf of educators and staff who work in our schools every day. First, I want to thank the school committee members who are concluding their service. Your time on this committee included periods of significant challenge for public education. Some of you served during the pandemic, when rapid decisions had to be made about remote learning, health and safety, staffing, and student support. Some of you also participated in collective bargaining during a time of heightened pressure and uncertainty, knowing these decisions directly affect the educators who serve our students. You also worked through ongoing budget constraints, making difficult choices about resources while trying to meet the needs of students and schools. From the association's perspectives, these moments matter deeply because working conditions are students' learning conditions. While we have not always agreed on every issue, we recognize the seriousness with which you approach this responsibility and the time and care you brought to your role. Serving on a school committee, especially during times of crisis, requires commitment, resilience, and a willingness to make a difficult decision in the public eye. On behalf of our members, we appreciate the dedication you brought to this work. I also want to extend a sincere welcome to our new elected school committee members. We look forward to working with you as partners in the shared goal of strong, equitable public schools. Educators value collaboration, transparency, and respectful dialogue, and we believe that positive labor management relationships are essential to student success. As association leadership, we remain committed to advocating for our members while working constructively with this committee to support students, educators, and families. I'll close with a reminder that feels especially fitting for public education and public service. The future belongs to those who believe in the power of public education to change lives. We look forward to continuing this important work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in person? All right, we have a phone number ending in 6252 with the hand raised. I'm going to hit allow to talk. Can you give us a quick sound check and I'll start your 3-minute timer? Jerry?
Madam Chairwoman, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, one and all. Happy holidays ahead to you all. Like a giant jigsaw puzzle in motion, spinning with a short duration and cost-intense element, whirling around and around, and the impact is dire. It is hard rain going to fall. You have to pay flooding debt, or will sink like a stone. The times are a-changing, many coming all at once, and not enough resources to cover your budget busters. Sanctuary state, housing, migrant placement on demand. Massachusetts poor spending habits, day-to-day crisis management, lack of oversight, failure galore. Something rotten. New England, Massachusetts schools are lagging, not enough state funds to address it. Southern states have moved ahead of what is now called the northern states nosedive. Bad news. It's been verified. National Assessment Educational Progress, NAEP, shows reading, writing, math, science, etc., declining. New England. DESE has confirmed. Where did, when did, why did 640 students go missing? Was that a real number to begin with? Either way, Framingham School District has real impact, urgent, pressing need. The impact will be felt all along our community. The performance will be demanded. Taxes, affordability are hot issues for our people here in Framingham, like across the country. How did Marlboro cut school busing 25% across the school district, saving millions of dollars? I wonder how they did that. Turning Point USA, thousands and thousands of chapters across the nation for our young people more than ever need Framingham TPU chapter. Let's give it to them. Let's do it for them. Let's sponsor a chapter. Our young people now need things more than ever to deal with the modern era and the complexities.
About 30 seconds.
Yes. And I just want to say one last thing. You folks have a hard chore ahead of you, and you have a short duration to do it. And I wish you the very best in doing it. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 3 minutes. Okay. Nobody else? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to announcements from the chair. First up, a huge shout out to the third grade teachers, especially the music department, Miss Caloran and Miss Moore, for putting together a wonderful winter concert for families and friends to enjoy at Barberry. It was a terrific event, and the kids did so well and were so cute. The next announcement is the FY27 budget hearing will be held on January 7th at 7 p.m. here in the Blummer Room and via Zoom. That's it for announcements from the chair. Next up, we will go into the Student Advisory Committee remarks. So we'll turn it over to Student Advisory Chair, Deborah Davitoria. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To begin with some sports updates for tonight, many teams have officially begun their seasons, playing their first games this past week, including girls ice hockey, basketball, wrestling, and others, wishing all of our student athletes the best of luck this season. Moving on to school-wide updates, 6 Framingham High School students, members of the Model United Nations team, attended the St. John's Prep Model UN conference this past weekend, completing against more than 200 delegates, and 50% of Framingham delegates earned awards. Furthermore, students from the Framingham High School Theater Department participated in the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild Scholarship and Contest Day, with FHS students placing in both the Doug Acting Scholarship and the Musical Theater contests. For this week's Classroom Spotlight, I would like to highlight Mrs. Nicodemus' environmental science class, where students studied a pond ecosystem by creating food webs, graphing population changes, and predicting how changes in species impact the ecosystem. Additionally, the National Honor Society has launched its annual holiday drive, a long-standing Framingham High tradition dating back to the 1940s. This year, NHS is supporting 108 children from infants through 8th grade by collecting non-perishable food, new toys, new clothing, and money for families. NHS members will wrap gifts for families to pick up before winter break. Building on this, I would like to give a special shout out to Miss Galvin and Miss Corcoran, the NHS advisors whose leadership and dedication have been essential to the success of the holiday drive. As for Student Advisory Council updates, we're preparing to hold our first round of student focus groups, which will take place this Friday. That's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for her? Mr. Freudberg, you're up.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to let everyone know that we've been working on the kind of youth council reforms, and the student advisory committee is an essential piece of that in our view. So just a thank you to Deborah and the prior chair, Jordan. There was a forum that the city sponsored over the weekend, and there's more to come when it comes to the revitalized youth council and how the high school has a major voice, just like other schools, as the youth council is 13 to 22, and also is for, charter schools, private schools, Keefe Tech, et cetera. But I just want to thank Deborah for being open to those conversations and build off what the prior chair has done. And applications are now posted and open for the youth ages 13 to 22 to apply before January 31st. And city councilors and the mayor are the ones who decide who eventually gets appointed to that. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Seeing no one, this concludes Student Advisory Chair update. We'll move on to the Superintendent's report. On to Dr. Tremblay for his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. And I just want to acknowledge and thank the block staff for coming out this evening, for expressing. We believe in the support and the work that you do for our students every day. I'm looking right at you, and I want to acknowledge that publicly. I want to thank you for what you do. Certainly, it's more than reading and playing, both of which are extremely important in an early childhood environment. But I just wanted to thank you with the deepest of gratitude for what you do every day for our kids. We know how important it is, which is why we wanted to double down on this effort in our early childhood spaces. So I just want to thank you also for the staff who are here, the leadership who's here. I know that Kelly couldn't be here tonight, Kelly Napierski. But I want to thank, in particular, Christina Shea and Ann Ludis, who have been really working to help respond in the last week or so to the questions that were raised. And I think, I don't want to steal Ms. Ludis's thunder in her presentation later, but you have our commitment. There's going to be an ongoing conversation to work through those commitments, those problem solving that you pointed out tonight at the podium. And I don't always respond to public comment in that way, but I think in case you leave before I have a chance to acknowledge that, I want to make sure you heard that we are a team. We do want to work in partnership with all of you. And I just want to commend the staff for all that you've been doing to get this ready for tonight's meeting for the school committee, so that we don't lose too much traction with what I think is the right thing to do for our students. So thank you for allowing me to acknowledge that. My first part of tonight's presentation is just a very quick mid-year check-in on goals that are set by me, the school committee has approved as part of this process, just giving you, and particularly for our newer members, to give you an orientation to the goal-setting structure. And so the document, Joanne, I'm not sure if you could share that on the screen. I think she's going to pull that up for us. You have this in your packets, but for the general public who may be in the room, I'll just walk through this. There are three here to speak about. The first is a community school pilot. This is a district improvement goal. And so what happens by matter of process is each spring I'll put forward proposed goals for the next school year. The school committee will give input on those goals. I'll refine them, frame them as SMART goals, so they're specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound, the typical acronym there. And then we identify that, and what I've organized the document to be as we go through it is the specific action steps, and then there's evidence related to those actions that's hyperlinked. It could be to emails or agendas or conference notes, and then a timeline status, whether it's complete or in progress. So I'm not going to go through all of that detail this evening unless there's specific questions on that, but I want to just give a high-level context of these, and I also want to underscore that these goals are not just my specific goals, they're district goals, but they also require this tremendous collaboration. And this community school pilot is just an example of that. I want to give a shout out to many who are in the room here, certainly Chris Maroney and the McCarthy team in particular. So we have chosen McCarthy Elementary School as a pilot initiative for this community school. So what, in short, are community schools? What we've discovered in large part, although this is happening across the country, is that what we do in Framingham is in fact, in many respects, the tenets of a community school. Our Welcome Center that bridges together language interpretation service to help families navigate complex systems. Aurelia Medina and the team there who've built out, through Courtney's department and Siobhan Lord, who've built out and through Ms. Steyer's earlier start to this work of having an immunization clinic available to us at the Welcome Center. That removes hurdles for children and families. Our partnership through this with Jewish Family Services, TJX Corporation, that provides clothing and material needs for students and families as they come into the district. That's one example of what the Welcome Center space does as part of this. But what's happening separately at McCarthy, in addition to that, is very unique in how it connects those dots for families. The work here that's described is how to deepen that. How do we find those blind spots in our work where we're not reaching into families enough? How do we authentically allow for two-way community engagement with families? So it's not just a newsletter, but it's having families who feel welcome and that sense of belonging that we've prioritized in our strategic plan. That deepening work is recognized not only in our district, through the school committee, through what we prioritize in our budgets, but also in this very unique partnership with the Massachusetts Teachers Association, with the Framingham Teachers Association, and now with the National Education Association. To have this synergy across multiple unions at the local, state, and federal level is a wonderful opportunity for us. So I just want to use tonight to give a shout out to all those people. We come together frequently. We've attended trainings together, mini retreats together. We've traveled together. We've visited school sites. We've been inspired together, and all of that is for the benefit of Framingham students. So tonight's acknowledgement of this goal, while it's well on track, and there'll be a more formalized presentation at the end of the year on this, is really more to acknowledge the amazing work that our staff has committed to this in providing that outreach to families and truly centering the family needs at the center of the school's work in this community school pilot. So I'll leave it there for that update on this work. It's much more nuanced and detailed in terms of what's actually been done relative to that goal, but that can be read on your own, and members can read those links. If there's any problem accessing those links, please let me know, and I'm happy to help with any communication or answer any questions. So let me just pause on that first before I go to the remaining two in my mid-year report on the community schools. And if I've missed anybody, I apologize. I'm just thinking about who's coming to mind in doing this work. Seeing none, I'll move on, Madam Chair, if that's okay. The next item, the next goal was a professional practice goal for me, and this is around understanding artificial intelligence, AI, in education. Probably many who are my age in the room or who are just trying to wrap their head around what is AI and what can this do and what does this mean, is for me to personally understand it, but then to practically apply it and to lead it. And I want to give first, again, all of this work is not done in a silo, it's done collaboratively. I was inspired by Ann Mariano. I was inspired by Holly Anza at the high school, and who've led some of these discussions among staff. As you can imagine, there's the worry side of AI. All of us worry about AI at some point. If you have a Amazon Alexa in your house, you're probably worried about all the listening that Amazon is doing and the Alexa is doing in your, I know I am. And then often your phone, you'll go home and probably tonight I'll have all kinds of comments or things on my social media feed. So that exists in this space. But how does it work in education so that we're not afraid to apply it? Our students know well and likely better than us how to use AI. And there's a fear that it's going to be gaming or cheating the system, when in effect it can be a really reliable tool as a proofreader, as an editor, as an assistant, as somebody to help you synthesize information. And I say this out loud because I have to get my own head around that thinking and allow myself. And just, if AI helps me to do something, that's okay. I just need to be responsible and attribute that I generated this document or whatever it may be using AI and give credit where credit is due, even if that credit is a robot. But I think it's important that we also understand that AI can be informed by bad information, and you run the tremendous risk of creating sort of this false narrative or hallucinations. There's once an example of that was shared with me when I first started to delve into this was an AI prompt saying, where do hamburgers come from? And the AI response was from hamburger trees. Now, somebody in the world generated this as a response, and somebody could actually use that as a response, right, and think that that's actually true. So we have to be very intentional about how we use AI as an educational tool. And one example of that is how do we leverage it in using the task side of it that would take a lot of hours of human analysis in a much more simplistic way. Recently, we became aware, and there's a seriousness to this, but a practical application, in my view, is around recently a hate symbol of a swastika in our community. Everybody here is probably well aware that that happened. And that drove us to the next conversation of what do we do about that? And of course, we have amazing faith leaders and community leaders who come together in solidarity and denounce those symbols of hate, not symbols of bias, symbols of hate, just to be clear. This is powerful work, and we can resource that and have conversations. That has to happen. But where do we deepen that in our curriculum? And so an example, not to lighten, it's a very serious concern, but to bring it back to the practicality of where artificial intelligence may be useful, is where do we take all of our curriculum? And we have materials and resources in our language arts curriculum, in our social emotional curriculum, and then how do we put that into a system that we can control and then to run an analysis of a crosswalk of where that exists so that we can identify gaps. That's in addition to having the deep conversations that we have to have, having the restorative conversations that we have to have so that our students understand what those symbols mean and the impact and the intent of what all those actions are. But if we can take our existing curricula and existing efforts that we have to address this and put it into an artificial intelligence algorithm and say, show us where the gaps exist in this analysis. That's the next level for me. So this is a work in progress. I'm describing it as a mid-year report because I'm in the process of doing this actual work now in tandem with having those deep human conversations with school leaders, with staff, with faith and community leaders to really deepen our knowledge of that, but also making sure that we have a curriculum that supports this so that when these issues do arise, and they will arise, sadly, they will, but that we're prepared to have those difficult conversations when they do, at the moment they do, so that we're not kicking this to somebody else to resolve, that we all have the empowered skills and the resources to pull from. And so this is where I think AI can be tremendously powerful, obviously well beyond the hamburger tree, but important to show how we can apply this in real time. The control, though, that's important to illustrate here And as I'm coming to learn, and the district has recently adopted Gemini and more recently Notebook LM as tools, this allows us to control the environment by which we pull this information. So instead of going out to ChatGPT or using other sources that will pull from all the information that's available in the world online, we can give it very precise direction using only existing documents that don't allow for those hallucinations. It will pull our own data. We have to watch out for bias in there. We have to watch out for other things that we may not be paying attention to, for sure. But the amount of time it would take humans to take that data crosswalk analysis really could be truncated significantly, in my view, by using AI as a tool. So there's an example of how I'm applying in my own practice AI in a way that is next, in my view of that, is next level powerful and impactful for our students, and not taking on a lot of responsibilities for our staff to have to do that work instead of being in front of students. So I wanted to just give that as an illustration tonight, and I'm happy to pause on that topic. But you can see again in the goals mid-year report, there's a lot more specific detail around AI and my continued own professional growth in that area. But I'll pause in case there's comments or questions, and then I'll move on to my final update.
Mr. Labarge has his hand up.
Thank you. AI, it's not just one entity. There's like a whole personality of entities from them. Some of them are trustworthy, and some of them are not trustworthy, just like human beings, news media, what have you. And I have a rule on things. If some entity is in this habit of lying, putting out false information, we have to tune that entity out completely and only go for the entities that will speak on the truth, only the truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Freiberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Dr. Tremblay, for your annual kind of midterm updates. It's all really, really important work, and I like a lot of what you've done, especially the AI goal. I'm just wondering, as right now, all communities are grappling with AI and balancing the what is the inconsistent usage of governance. You have some teachers doing it one way, some doing it another way, some schools doing it one way, and so forth, right? I think that autonomy is helpful, but I'm wondering if an end result of your work is perhaps a kind of a broad governing policy just with general guidance for everyone to have some level of consistency. In a way, that article I read today in the news about cell phone policy and kind of the not just here, but like the inconsistency around the globe and how schools govern that, right? Just having something that helps, even if it has to be broad and evolve as AI is moving so quickly.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tee up for how I was going to close out this topic, because I gave an example of a practical application that I personally would use with the district. There's that other side of how do we sort of regulate its use more broadly, or even as a community understand what it is. I think all of us are trying to make sense of it, and we kind of know what it is, but we don't really necessarily know the impact in the future. And how are we preparing students to sort of navigate their world if they're 5 or if they're 15 to use AI, especially when it's evolving literally as we sit here tonight. And so I think we have to be careful about putting a shelf life on a policy that's going to change, that literally be out of date. It's like an encyclopedia. It's going to be out of date the time it's printed. So I think we have to be mindful of that, and I would lean on our educators to give some guidance. Those are conversations that are happening at the school level. What I'm envisioning for this as a next step is a panel presentation, a community engagement. I remember when the mayor sometime back, there was a community conversation that we had here at Nevins Hall, and I think it's a nice way to bring the community together around a shared interest. And what I'm envisioning, and I could imagine, an intergenerational conversation of somebody who's at the Callahan Center talking with a 6-year-old, talking with a high school senior in a same space about how they all make sense of what AI is and learning from one another in that discussion. At the same time, our educators need the time and space to have those discussions, to know what we should be able to memorialize. I think it's going to answer your question, whether we get to a policy that's specific, and I think a lot of districts have shied away from a specific policy for the reason that it's evolving so much, and people have different thresholds of tolerance of how much they'll allow for that. Even systems that screen for AI, having written the paper, so to speak, those are also flawed. We've seen evidence of that in presentations I've attended. So I think if you set boundaries of AI can be a partner as a writing editor, and then you limit it to that, or as a brainstorming partner. We're not quite there at proposing a policy for the policy subcommittee yet, but I think we will get there in setting those boundaries. Right now, I think it's a matter of understanding that. Again, I have linked in here, and I can certainly add to it, and I'm envisioning that Holly Anza doing a more detailed presentation about specifically on the educational impact and the opportunities that exist with AI. So that's forthcoming. That's sort of a foreshadowing to what's yet to come. Right now, it's just getting a baseline understanding of what it is, what it can do, and then how do we apply it, and how do we set regulations around it.
Thank you. One quick follow-up is applying those answers to the example you gave about editing. I think doing a forum is great. That's well worth the effort. I'm more interested in the consistency of practice when it comes to if a student has to write a 3-page paper and they write it on their own and they write a 5-page paper. What if one teacher at one school allows them to drop into AI and reduce the word count and fix the typos? And that's allowed there, but another teacher says no. I think that's what I'm looking to find out, and I don't have the answer for you, and look forward to your work on this. I think you've got to balance it with individual teachers' autonomy and what makes sense for that class, while also trying to have some fairness. It's a hard answer here. So thanks for looking into it.
Yeah, those are sound points. Thanks for that.
I imagine, too, we'll also have some student handbook updates, as well as academic integrity is off the charts with this.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's such a temptation, too.
Absolutely.
Lots of work to do.
And then I'll just move on, if it's okay, to the final goal was addressing chronic absenteeism with a goal here to decrease by 10% year over last year. So I'm trending now, working with again with Ann Mariano in our Office of Technology, and we're just really trying to get to that 90-day mark, which is about January 23rd. Will get us to the 90 days so we can see a half-year trend. How are we trending with absenteeism this year versus last year? Are we, as a district, heading toward that 10% target or not? I will say there's additional complications, right? Not surprisingly, this year, although less than previous years, transportation is a variable in there. If students not coming to school, if you are absent 18 days out of 180 days, you've hit that chronic absenteeism 10% threshold. But we're not at 180 days, so it is a relative number that we have to sort of see if we're trending in that direction. I'm hopeful that with the work that Lincoln and Angela and others have done on the transportation side of the house, that we will have more students, and we know we are, having more students coming to school on time. That will hopefully help that longer-term longitudinal data. However, we're also mindful as a community, many of us who stood out today in support of our immigrant families and students, that you have that additional variable, which definitely plays into this absenteeism piece, of families who are simply in fear to send their children to school. Well, there's an accountability to that. As I've said before, 6 to 16, statutorily, students must attend school. So if families aren't sending their children to school, we need to deal with that. At the same time, if students aren't coming to school, it's going to put a challenge on hitting those chronic absenteeism targets. So you have life in the way of a data metric, but we know that our students have the best opportunity to learn, to be safe, to be fed, to be clothed when they come to school every day. That's the ultimate goal. And I want to commend each of the school principals, social workers, adjustment counselors, family support coordinators, some of whom are in the room tonight, for the extraordinary work they've done to reach into beyond phone calls, by having home visits through our parent. Another example of a partnership we have with the Framingham Teachers Association, with the support of the school committee, of getting our families, building that trust with the schools by being present in homes and building those incredible relationships that really engender belonging. So all that work is a culmination, I believe, will eventually, over time, with this investment, lead to a reduced chronic absenteeism. But that remains to be seen. I'll report back after we get to that 90-day mark and ultimately at the end of the school year. But I wanted to give some context for that goal and some of the challenges that we're having to overcome in the face of it. Thank you. And there's nothing else. I have one closing announcement that I'd like to share, and then I'll leave it at that. Oh, is that okay? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure, sorry.
No, all right. And then finally, thank you again for your attention on that. And again, for any members or members-elect, I know you'll be in the seats at the next meeting. I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have, or if there's not access to links, I'm happy to provide that to you. But we've been hard at work. And again, as you've heard tonight, it's not just me, right? It's me working with a lot of people and building some strong relationships myself within the organization, both with teachers, administrators, staff, families, and students directly. That being said, my final announcement for this evening is I'm in the process of planning a student council summit. Now, this builds on, the committee may recall, the policy we adopted last year with Jordan Cohen, who sat with us, and we had this elementary school council. And so I've been tracking the progress with that with our principals, and they've been rolling out their school councils, gaining interest. So I'm envisioning more details to follow on how this will actually look. But in my mind's eye, all of the 9 elementary school councils come together as a summit, and we have conversations about what they've been doing in their schools, what students are paying attention to. It's a way to enlist student voice, but also a way for me to give feedback to the school committee on the policy that you adopted. And if he's available, I'd like to invite Jordan Cohen to come back, so we'll try to do that in the springtime so that he can sort of see the fruits of his own labor. So that's a work that's underway, but I wanted to just give some assurance to the school committee that that is not a policy that was just adopted and forgotten about. It's lived in practice, and credit to our principals for bringing that to life. That's all I have this evening for my announcements.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to Assistant Superintendent for Pre-K to 12 Education Update, Ann Ludis.
Thank you. Good evening. Joanna, you can display the slides, please. I'm going to do a very, very brief presentation, basically just to summarize the information that was provided in your packet. I really want to leave the time for questions and discussion. So I'll just do a very brief presentation, and I would like to start by echoing the comments that were made during public comment, thanking those of you who were able to come and visit blocks and see the school in action. I think that was really wonderful. We all greatly appreciated that. Next slide, please, Joanna. So first, I wanted to take a moment to just talk about where we were. So 2 weeks ago, December 3rd, I presented with the Director of Early Education requesting approval to change the start and end times of the preschool and the early education, preschool and pre-K start and end times in the schools here in the district, so at McCarthy, Harmony Grove, and Juniper Hill, so that we could transition from a 4-day model to a 5-day model. And the rationale and the actual start and end times were included in the memos that were submitted on November 21st and 26th, respectively. And there were some great questions and great conversation on December 3rd, and so in your packet, you received responses to the questions that we heard and the concerns that were raised. And so today is that follow-up of that meeting. The major areas of concern that we noted were about staff workload, IEP management, and the workload management associated with that, as well as the planning timeline. And so we'll address those, as well as we responded to those concerns, as well as a few other points in the packet. Next slide, please. So staff workload was, we heard that loud and clear. And so the concerns were about the scope of responsibilities for the educators, as well as planning for lessons and the role of special education, just that dual role that we even heard about in public comment today. So during the meeting, we were asked for some specific information, including based on the list of responsibilities that were shared during public comment and presented to the school committee, how does that fit into the workday, the schedule? And I will be the first to acknowledge that I don't know an educator out there who's able to complete all of their responsibilities during a 7-hour workday. Teachers definitely work much harder than that and work longer hours than that. But what I did was worked through those responsibilities in 3 different ways. One was the total weekly minutes in alignment to the responsibilities. Another was a sample daily schedule and how, just with the minutes associated. And the third was that sample daily schedule with the responsibilities kind of pushed in at the different times of the day when they would likely be managed. And I do apologize for the tiny font. It became very complicated trying to fit all of that information into something that was that you could compare. We also shared with you some information about the 3 different types of classroom models that exist in the district. We have a general education classroom, which is the Spanish immersion classroom. We also have inclusion classrooms and substantially separate classrooms. So we broke that down for you as well in talking about the staffing breakdown. Next slide, please. Concerns were also raised about the evaluation caseload, specifically the extensive amount of time it takes to complete initial evaluations and the number of initial evaluations. So this was addressed, and there was a meeting last week with the staff as well to share these adjustments with them in our plan. And some of them are immediate fixes or immediate responses, and others are going to have to wait until the start of the new school year because implementing them now would potentially, well, first of all, not fit the budget, but also potentially require students to change teachers, and we did not want to do anything that impacted students in the middle of the year. The first is an immediate support, albeit not a complete support, but it's an initial step in providing some relief to educators, special educators, in the completion of initial evaluations, and that is that the assistant coordinator will assume the responsibility for some of those initial evaluations. So beginning in January, she will take on some of those, which will reduce the number that need to be assigned to the special educators. Longer term, beginning with the 26-27 school year, Special Ed Director Lori Bruce has already committed to reallocating 1 member of the special education team to blocks as a 1.0 speech and language pathologist. So that will be cost neutral. It's not an additional staff member in the district. This happens every year as the needs of students change as students age up or move out of the district, and it's about just reallocating based on those needs. So that will be cost neutral, but bringing another SLP into blocks. And secondly, looking at the projected enrollment for next year, converting a preschool teacher to a part-time preschool teacher, part-time evaluator for IEPs, so freeing them up for half of their day. Preschool teachers teach a morning class and an afternoon class, and so having them teach one of those 2, but freeing up the time in the rest of their schedule for the second half of their day as an evaluator will be something that is going to happen next year. And again, that's cost neutral. That's something that, with the projected enrollment, could it have been implemented this year? Yes. But the skill set is very important to consider, and we don't have somebody who's freed up right now to do that and do that in a way that we think would be beneficial for the school. So that will be a next year addition, not an additional staff, just, again, reassignment of responsibilities for an existing staff member. Next slide, please. There was also a concern about the coverage for classes while teachers are pulled from class for IEP meetings. That's a concern right now already as well. And so given that that is a concern now, we are moving into a position in January where we're going to add a part-time campus aide to serve as somebody who's covering classes specifically for this purpose. Now, this particular person is a retired educator with a special education license and lots of experience in early education. So she understands the program, she understands special education, and so this will be an easy transition in. And again, this is cost neutral as well, because the funding for this is coming from a position that is currently kind of in the wings, funding that's in the wings for this, in case the enrollment had increased this year, which it did not, as we've talked about in the past. Enrollment is down. So that position will not need to be filled this year, which is why we have room in the budget to add this part-time, about 16 hours a week, campus aide position. Next slide, please. Also, there were concerns about the rush, that this process was rushed, and so we thought it was important for all of you to be aware of the ongoing conversations that have happened over the last 3 years. So there is a timeline in your packet that explains the work that has happened over the last 3 years with the early education program. And we were also asked to provide a plan for the 5-day implementation working group, and so that plan, including dates and agenda topics for each month, are included in your packet as well. Next slide. There were also questions mostly related to special education that were still lingering, and so those have been answered. Director of Special Education Lori Bruce put together a comprehensive Q&A document to answer those questions. That's supplemental to the 5-day implementation Q&A that was in the preceding packet. We were also asked about caregiver responses. We did push the survey out again, and so we have collected now a total of 221 individual responses, unique responses. I made sure to go through and remove any duplicate responses so that we weren't double counting anybody's preference, and consistently we're at 82% that are in favor of a 5-day model. And with that, the only other thing that I would like to add is that, the Framingham's early education model is considered an exemplar in the state. Just last week, Christina Shea received 2 emails, one from SchoolWorks, one from TNTP, the New Teacher Project. Both of these are research-based educational leaders. TNTP works very closely with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. SchoolWorks, when they reached out, they were looking for information about our program to share with Denver, Colorado, who was looking for a program, and when SchoolWorks was trying to help them, they contacted Christina. And then the same day, maybe even, she received an email from TNTP saying that she went back to DESE to sing the praises of this program, and DESE just reiterated and agreed with everything. And so she got this wonderful glowing email explaining how just remarkable our program is here in Framingham. So I just want to give a shout out to the work that has been done in this district, because it really is, it's not just what we and the families here in Framingham know about and the staff know about, it's that the model here is actually something that is looked at to be replicated in other places. So with that, I will just close and leave the rest of the time for questions and discussion. And Christina and Lori are here if there are questions that you have that are specific to their roles.
Up first, we have Ms. Moshe.
Thank you. So thank you for all the work that you've put in the last 2 weeks. It's answered a lot of our questions. And I'm sorry I haven't gotten over to blocks this week, but I've been in your building before. So I'm for the 5-day program. And I think I've heard that a lot of people were for the program. Again, it's just about getting all the pieces into place for it to be successful for everybody. With that, one of the things I did hear today was the in-house evaluator and how that position was put someplace else. How do we make sure that that doesn't happen again?
I don't know if Christina can speak to what's happened in the past, but as you heard Dr. Tremblay say, we're committed to making this work. So, everything is dependent on enrollment. That's true in every school, right? And so I hope I never have to go to Link and say, hey, Link, we've had a surge, but I know that when that's happened in other schools and other situations, we address the need as it arises. And I know the budget is very, it's precarious moving forward, and so we have to be really fiscally responsible, but so far the signs are not pointing to that need. And even this year, we have a classroom that is not, we have space right now that we could fill, and we haven't filled, and we're halfway through the year. So if we were trying to implement this now, I would say we could do so confidently. And so with the kind of enrollment trends we've been seeing, I'm going to remain confident and just go back to Dr. Tremblay's words that we're committed to making this work.
Thank you. I hope there's a commitment to not take this role out of where it is right now, because it seems to be causing a great deal of problem within the building and how they're able to function during their day. I think what I'm also hearing is a big piece that's missing here is the special education and how it's coming together with the inclusion. So I don't know how to feel confident about how those two pieces are going to work together.
So, I don't know if Ms. Bruce has anything to say about that, but that, I'm going to just separate that. That's not a 5-day model issue. Those concerns are being raised about their role as dually licensed educators, early education teachers, and special educators right now. So I think that does need to be addressed more, and Lori has done a great job so far of trying to get to know all of the schools in the district so that she can understand what the needs are. I mean, I'll be honest, and I shared this with the faculty, with the staff last week when I met with them. Lori came to me and said, we need to get another SLP at blocks early in the fall, well before this was even a conversation. So she was already doing that needs analysis and is continuing to do so. So I think we have to give her time to really see what that is and work with Christina to figure out, what if any supports or changes need to take place. But that's a current issue that's not related to the 5-day model.
I think it'll affect the 5-day model.
So I'm going to push back a little bit, because what we're doing with this 5-day model is still making sure that staff get their prep time, their team time, and what we're trying to do along the way is ensure that students are getting the option of 5 days of school, the way they're so students with disabilities get 5 days of school, the way non-disabled peers get 5 days of school. So there's going to be trade-offs. I also would, and I mentioned this at the last session, the last school committee meeting, is that right now all of their planning time is on one day of the week. And that's also the day that they, from their reports, hold most of their IEP meetings, which means their planning time is being consumed sometimes by IEP meetings, and that will not happen. We have committed to that. Kelly Napierski, the coordinator of blocks, has committed to not touching their planning time for IEP meetings. Their special education team evaluation coordinator has committed to that. So we're actually trying to preserve their planning time, and now it'll be every day of the week rather than just all condensed into one day, along with IEP meetings. So I'm actually hoping that we're going to alleviate some of the stressors that they're feeling right now.
I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other hands? All right, Mr. Lewis.
I am so grateful for all the work that's happened over the last couple of weeks and the commitment to continue these conversations, including into the next school year. But my question is, I would love to hear more about the enrollment data. I anticipate, we heard from parents 2 weeks ago that the 4-day model just simply didn't work for them. So I would anticipate that we have increased interest this year. Does our enrollment cycle give us the flexibility to allocate more resources? I know I would personally commit and would love to see blocks fully filled with students. I know that's one of the goals of our community.
Well, so, and I'm definitely going to ask for Christina to correct me if I say anything wrong. But the seats that are still available, I believe, they're special education seats. And some general ed seats. So there are some general ed seats at blocks that are open. And the other seats that are empty right now are special education seats. And we have to always keep seats available, because as students become of age for public education with an IEP, we have to have space available for them. So you kind of have to have the room, because if the school is full, then you have nowhere to put them, and then there are class size requirements. So the space is there now for students with IEPs to come in. We just haven't seen them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Lorena?
Hi, yes, this isn't exactly a question. I think it's, I think I'm just curious about how you think the disconnect between what the families are feeling and what you're presenting tonight needs to sort of meet in the middle. I just feel like the feedback, or, that I'm listening very, in the background, is kind of not in line with what you are proposing, and I'm just wondering how we can meet in the middle. I see everything that you propose, but I wonder, is there a plan with a timeline to actually discuss progress and to make sure that educators feel the support that you are confident is going to help them? What does the transition look like?
First, can I ask, are you talking about families or staff? Because
For the staff.
Okay, I thought you had said families, and so I got a little confused at first.
Sorry.
No, that clarifies everything. That's what the working group is for. So we have a plan to meet monthly starting in January with staff that volunteer to participate in the working group. And when I presented this, we've talked about this with the staff before, but when we talked about this last week, I really encouraged representation from all different types of members of the staff. So paraprofessionals, special educators, inclusion teachers, preschool teachers, pre-K teachers, so that we had good representation in that group. We have the dates in the plan that was part of the packet. We have the dates already scheduled. We have tentative agenda items for each of those meetings for all the way through June. And then we also listed in there that we intend to continue meeting at least through December after the school year starts up again, so that we can actually see if what we planned actually needs to be adjusted or is working into the school year. And of course, we can always extend that further beyond December.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I just worry about educator retention, and I worry that this might not end up being as successful as we would all hope for it to be. I am in favor of it, and I have to say that when I visited last week, I didn't just see teachers doing work while the kids weren't there. I saw civil engineers creating cities. I saw planners who were trying to also accommodate the curriculum from Boston into Framingham. I saw scientists, and I saw a lot of excellent work being done, and it really put into perspective what that day actually means for them and what is at stake. And so the concern of having that day taken away but split up when 3- and 4-year-olds are unpredictable and it may cut into their time, I think is very important. So also, while I'm not a voting member yet, I think it is very important to continue bringing this topic to the table after the vote, whatever the vote and the outcome is.
Thank you. And if I can respond to that, I think you raise a really good point. You said 3- and 4-year-olds are very unpredictable. So if, as a former educator myself, if I were planning all of my week of lessons on a Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, if I were planning those lessons on Wednesday, certainly by Tuesday, probably by Friday, those lessons have had to be adjusted, and there's no time built into their workday to make those adjustments. They would have to do that outside of their work hours. Now, the school day ends at 1:30. In the 5-day proposal, the school day ends at 1:30. Their work day ends at 3 o'clock. So after dismissal, the rest of that time is for them to do the work that they need to do outside of teaching the children. So I see that, until it's lived, we won't know, but I see that as a win. I'm also going to say, I think there are educators in grades K through 12 that would also say, a whole day to prepare would be wonderful. But again, then how do you make those adjustments so that you're providing for the needs of the students as they change day to day?
Right. Thank you.
Any other hands on this topic? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the proposed 5-day preschool? Are there any recusals? I was going to ask after. Anybody want to recuse? Ms. Ottaviani is recusing. All right, is there a motion to approve the proposed 5-day preschool and pre-K programming?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Labarge, seconded by Mr. Robles. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Jen.
I just want to make sure going forward that we're listening to our educators, we're listening to the people that are in the building that are going to be affected by this, because we are not rolling it out until 26, 27. So I think taking this time to make sure we're listening, doing a lot of work to put things in place correctly is so important right now. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, we'll go roll call vote.
One more, sorry. I just wanted to add on to that. And I think I've already kind of said this, but I think it has to work. If it's going to work for our kids, it has to work for our educators. It's really that simple, so.
Mr. Freidberg, followed by Mr. Labarge.
Thank you. What is the plan to communicate the results of the working group?
That's actually in the working document. There were 3 columns. One was the date, one was the agenda, one was communication. And so after every meeting, there will be a communication that goes out to the rest of the staff. We also, in the meeting that we had last week, I reminded people, you're going to know the dates of these meetings. You're going to know who the representatives are. So even if you are not on the committee, and by the way, the meetings are happening at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. So it's during their workday, because we have those Wednesdays right now, and it's voluntary. And so even if they're not part of the committee, whether they choose not to be or there were too many volunteers, which would be a great problem to have, they will know who they can talk to have their voice heard, their input included in the meetings themselves. But there will be a communication after each one of those meetings.
And only other follow-up is that communication a joint communication?
I think
a staff communication and a district, right? Because you know what I'm saying? Like,
well,
it needs to be as clear as possible so people understand the facts of what happened in that room.
My expectation is that it is jointly created at the end of each meeting.
Thank you.
Up next, Mr. Labarge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. In order for this program to work, everybody needs to be on board, including those who are on the front line. And we have to let them be able to negotiate and work things out, because I believe if we fail to do that, we're going to fail the kids. And I believe that our teachers will be able to do it. But they have to be one to be able to give inputs on the process as well. And with that, that's why I made the motion to at least start the ball. Thank you.
Okay, any other hands? Mr. Robles, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, and we're beating the same drum here, but it is very odd. I'm in favor of this. I'm going to vote yes on this plan. But as you speak about some of the answers or solutions that we have, I can see them over there shaking their head and not happy with this. So something is happening that they either don't understand what's happening or they don't agree with you. So I will love it if next time we're talking about this, that we are very much on the same page about this, and that they feel supported by us, and I think they are, if I have full confidence in you and the team to make this happen. But it's kind of weird to sit here and going, yes, we're going to vote for this, and this is the right thing to do, but I don't think they're very comfortable with this, and I don't know if that comes from misunderstanding or feeling like they're not being heard, but let's keep moving towards the middle that it's being proposed.
Thank you. All right, so motion on the floor is moved by Mr. Labarge, second by Mr. Robles, and the motion is to approve the proposed 5-day preschool and pre-K programming. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, put your hands down. All those opposed? Abstain? No. So it passes 8-0 with District 6 recused. Right? Thank you, Ms. Ludas, and we look forward to hearing back an update and as you progress, if you could let us know. That closes out your section, and then we'll move on to Executive Director of Finance and Operations update. I'll turn it over to Lincoln Lynch, Executive Director of Finance and Operations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. First on the agenda tonight is a capital update. Just a quick reminder, we have $2.2 million in capital projects to the mayor, his team, the council for approval for next year. It includes about 8 projects, 2.2 million, so we look forward to that. There's one quick update on some current projects. The Juniper Hill project, if you remember, we did phase 1 this past summer. We hope to do phase 2 this coming summer. The cost of the total project is going to exceed 30% of the assessed value of the building. We've talked about this a lot in the past and have worried about this in the past, so it's called 521 CMR. So once you hit 36 months worth of expenses that exceed 30% of the building's value, you're actually required to upgrade the entire building for accessibility. So we are working with the building commissioner, and we're also going to be going to the Architectural Access Board to discuss a variance. The hope is they will give us time to put a plan together and continue with phase 2 this summer. So we're hoping to meet with them in the very near future, and I'll update you as we get updated by them. But I just wanted to give you all the heads up that that is happening. And best case scenario is we continue with phase 2 over the summer. Worst case scenario is we have to rethink summer plans and phase 2 of the Juniper project. Quick update on the elementary school MSBA project. The request for services for designer services is out to bid. The responses are due a week from today. So on the 24th, the designer responses will be due. We had about 25 attendees for the walkthrough at Hemway and Bethany a couple weeks ago from about 10 or 11 designer firms. So there's definitely interest in this project. So we're hoping to get some good responses next week, and I'll report out on those at the following meeting. The final piece of the capital budget update tonight is a request for a vote from the committee. We were accepted into the pipeline for MSBA for the Brophy and the Potter Road roofs. So with that, we need to appropriate funding for the feasibility and schematic design. The estimated amount for each roof is $125,000. So we need to appropriate $250,000 total by February 2nd. I know it's going to be a little difficult with the turnover of school committee as well as the council. It was referred to the City Council Finance Subcommittee last night. So the wheels are in motion to get this approved. The reason this is kind of coming after that happened last night, if you remember, we have $855,000 appropriated in capital funds for this purpose, for both roofs. The CFO worked with bond counsel, and they recommended to get appropriations separate from that $855,000, and that it has to be voted on by the council, by the finance subcommittee, and then back to the council before February 2nd. So this is, I don't believe it's a required vote by the school committee, but a vote of support to move forward with this, and hopefully the council approves this by February 2nd. We could submit in our plans to complete the feasibility and schematic design for Brophy and Potter stay on track. So the language for both votes is in your packet this evening, and you'll see it's for $125,000 per school, 2 schools, $250,000 total.
The language I have is to approve the vote to appropriate funds for the feasibility and design of the Brophy and Potter Road roofs as part of the MSB Accelerated Repair Program as written and recommended approval by the City Council. Okay. Any discussion before we take a motion? Mr. Freudberg.
This is awesome, great work. Why would we not, get state money for these projects? I think my only clarification on the motion is it a new appropriation or a reappropriation, or we're actually, through the city project, I believe we're requesting the appropriation, so our motion should indicate that we're then referring this to the mayor and council for favorable concurrence.
Correct. Yeah, it's not something I've ever seen. So dealing with bond counsel on this has been a little interesting. It sounds to me like we'll get the 250, and then if it's approved, that $855,000 in the capital funding will drop by 250. That's how it was explained to us by bond counsel.
So I would just amend.
So
ask
to
that
request sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, are you about to say it?
To request a favorable vote from the City Council to appropriate the funds.
We need to request that the mayor appropriate, and the city council concur to align with Mr. Lynch's recommendation, however we fit that into the intent of the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to make that motion, Mr. Freudberg?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Moved by Mr. Freudberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Maskell. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go, all in favor, raise your hand. Any recusals before I take a vote? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Put your hands down. All those opposed, 0. Abstain, 0. Passes unanimous. All right, up next, FY26 operating budget.
Yes, quick update here. Per the report in your packet, we have spent $61.7 million. We have $15.8 million encumbered at a 42.35% spend rate. We are tracking costs with principals, directors, and we will have projections to this committee starting in January. Preliminary projections show us ending the year in the black, which is good. So more to come on that per policy next month with projections. So that's it for FY26.
Mr. Robles has his hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lincoln, just one quick question here. So Juniper Hill is now at 0%, and it was 100% in the last 2 reports. What happened here?
Yeah, so we talked about it last time. The Juniper Hill money that was there is actually early education money.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
Yep,
Thank
so
you.
we made that switch, and now the report looks as it should, because the Juniper Hill / blocks funding is in the blocks budget line.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? No hands.
Okay. Next agenda item is the FY27 operating budget. So Joanna, if you can pull up the slides. This presentation is identical to the one that was presented 2 weeks ago, so we'll go through it pretty quickly and then have some discussions on next steps. So if you can go to slide 3, please, Joanna. Okay, so slide 3 here shows a couple things. It shows our current budget, $183.1 million, and then it shows in the next column, FY27 proposed, the amount we need to be level service for next year. So that's $198.175 million. It's a $15 million increase to the current year budget, or 8.23%. If you go to next slide, the next 2 slides are what we call budget drivers. So there's really 6 major budget drivers, high cost buckets of the operating budget that drive that increase year over year. The major one are personnel costs. 78.71% of the total budget are personnel. So it's staff salaries and then additional salaries. So funds we budget for coaches or summer per diem or additional hours, things like that. So just under 80% of the total budget, so $155.9 million. As you can see on the presentation, the increases for each unit. I put in bold the turnover savings. It's something that we do here in Framingham. Not every city and town does, so I think it's just really important to point this out, is right off the bat, we include turnover savings in our operating budget. That is savings that you see when you budget for a staff member at $100,000. That person leaves for whatever reason, retires, leaves for another district, and we hire someone at $75,000. That's a $25,000 savings right off the bat. So we need those $25,000 savings to add up to $5.75 million each year. And we have seen that the past couple years. So I am confident to keep that $5.75 million. We still have over $4 million funded by grants and $3 million by revolving. The next budget driver, our special ed tuition and transportation, totals $32.6 million. You can see the breakdown here. The state, the Operational Services Division, sets that increase for private school, so it's 3.04%, and then we're projecting increases at collaboratives at 5%. Some collaboratives we're seeing a 2% increase, others we're seeing a 9% increase. So as those increases come in, we might need to move our numbers. My hope is those will average out once we get all the collaborative tuitions, and we will not have to increase what we're budgeting, because we already are showing that $15 million increase. Just a reminder, we have the 18 to 22-year-old program at Farley, a huge cost saver there, and the students get to stay in Framingham. I get to be in the Farley building with central office. It's a very, very cool opportunity situation here in Framingham. And then I have the tuition and transportation projected budgets for next year. Big Yellow School Bus, McKinney-Vento, two other large ticket items, $7.7 million for our in-house busing. That makes up, or what makes that up are all the driver and monitor salaries, and then all of our expenses. If you remember, we just approved 86 bus lease contract, so the majority of those expenses are for the lease of those buses. And then McKinney-Vento projected at $1.5 million. If you look at previous presentations, you'll see that's lower, about $1 million. We used to get state reimbursements. Those are no longer really for this year, and definitely not for next year. So we need to shift all that into the operating budget. Next slide, please, Joanna. As you are aware, there's a lot of talk of federal grant reductions. I'm projecting $1.2 million in lost grant funding, federal, so Title I, II, III, and IV. You can see the breakdown there. I feel like it's different every week, but a consistent projection that I hear is Title II, III, and IV are totally eliminated, and Title I is a 15% reduction. I've heard anywhere from 15 to 27% reduction. So again, that could shift as well, because what we're doing here is we're moving all those expenses and federal grant into the operating budget. So anywhere you see new salaries, when we talk about next year's budget, that's this number. It's not new positions, it's moving federal grant money into the operating budget. Next budget driver, utilities, $4.3 million. That's gas, electric, and cell phone and office phone or desk phones. And then our pre-K expansion is $1.4 million. You'll see that it is a $417,000 increase, but that's because we added McCarthy and Harmony Grove, so those salaries now factor into our pre-K expansion, which is obviously a great thing. But there has been some questions about that $400,000 increase, but that's why. Next slide, please, Joanna. So revenue projections. As you're aware, our budget's made up of Chapter 70, which is the state aid, pretty much based on enrollment, and then the local contribution, which is from the city general fund. The projected amount combined, state aid and local contribution, at this point from the mayor's office is $7 million. So my projection, and we've worked with a vendor, and they've confirmed my projection, is that we're going to be a minimum aid district. That's not 100% certainty, but I feel like it's really close. So what that means is you get a certain dollar amount per student only, because our enrollment has dropped so much that Chapter 70 is based on enrollment as the 95% driver. So when your enrollment drops, for the Chapter 70 numbers, it's 640 students down. As of today, we're down 688 students. So with that, it's no surprise that we're a minimum aid district. So just to put that in perspective and what the numbers could be, by law, we have to receive at least $30 per student. If that's the case, we would only receive $268,650 in additional state aid. This year, it's $150 per student, so it could be anywhere between 30 and 50. I think some people project a little bit higher than that. But conservatively, at 150, we would receive 1.3 million. If you remember from a couple slides ago, we need $15 million total for next year to keep level services. If you go to the next slide, please, Joanna. Okay, so this is basically where we're at with the budget. I mentioned we need just over $15 million, keep all the staff that we have, pretty much keep level services, slight increases for special ed tuition, transportation, utilities, and the proposed increase is only $7 million. So that creates a budget gap of $8,065,793. The proposed reduction to close that, and this kind of brings in the three other sub-agenda items on the agenda tonight, is expense reductions, staff reductions, and the retirement incentive that we have brought up for about a month now. And propose to use those three ways to reduce our budget. After reviewing our numbers, reviewing potential retirements, talking to other districts about their experience with the retirement incentive, we are going to recommend that we do not move forward with a early retirement incentive. There's several reasons for that. And if you remember, we talked about our turnover savings. We're a little unique because not every district does that. So if we offer a retirement incentive now, the staff members that might retire next year, and we would hire someone at a lower salary, that contributes to the retirement, to the turnover savings. If we offer that retirement incentive now, then we will not get as much turnover savings next year, which means I could be coming back to you a year from now saying, I'm projecting that we're going to be short on salaries because we don't have enough turnover savings. That's one reason I do not believe that we should move forward with a retirement incentive. A couple other things, meeting with districts, you could run into a huge hiring problem. Some districts out there offered this, they lost their entire history department. And then they were stuck at the beginning of the year trying to hire. They couldn't find anyone. And those folks that were there for 10, 15, 20 years, had all that experience, are now gone. So another reason why I don't think that we should consider this. There's also confusion with plans like this. We've talked to some districts, and we found that sometimes people choose the retirement incentive not really knowing what that means for their future, and then they're stuck with, my questions weren't answered. I thought that retirement contributions were still going to be made while I was gone, and that's not the case. So with an expedited budget process, I don't think we have enough time to have MTRS come in, have city retirement come in, have HR meet with anyone who's interested. We met with a district who told us all about this, smaller than us, about a third of our size, and they explained how long it took. I can't imagine 3 times that amount of time, and we have a budget that's due February 2nd. So for all of those reasons, financial and hiring problems for next year, I don't think that we should use or move forward with a retirement incentive to close the budget gap. We ran some numbers on some people who may retire, and really you need to make over $100,000 for it to make sense financially. at a $25,000 payout, which is what we've heard from districts what they do. So if you have someone who makes less than 100, you're actually losing money on that retirement, which is going the opposite way of how we want to go. So for all of those reasons, I think we should not move forward with the retirement incentive. Okay. The other two strategies to reduce are reducing expense budgets. So I talked last time, we've got to $1.3 million in expense budget reductions. We have reduced expense budgets year after year the past couple of years when we've faced these budget gaps. So there's not a lot of money to reduce on the expense side and provide what our students need. But we're at 1.3 million, and that's departments only, so central office departments. This does not touch the school budgets. This does not affect instructional supplies or any other supports in the school budget. That leaves $6,774,307 to close with staff reductions. It's not a great plan. It's not ideal. It's not something that any one of us want to do, but I think that is the steps that we have to take to close this budget gap. We're down 688 students as of today, and it's across the board at secondary, at elementary. So we would look at class sizes, we would look at programs, and make recommendations on how to close that budget gap. But it is a large budget gap to close. And when you do the math, it's a significant amount of FTEs. So I think talking in general terms tonight, that's where we're at. We want to look for some direction where we can really start putting a plan together to close this budget gap, be able to get a budget to the mayor on time, and at the same time, be able to tell any staff member that will not have a job next year as early as possible. We got some feedback last year that it was just far too late that we let people know. They missed out on that prime time applying and hiring season. So I think we need to make a decision on moving forward and let people know as early as possible. There's a human element to it. It's a really awful part of the job. So I think letting people know as early as possible so they can land on their feet somewhere is something that we need to do. So by doing that, we would close the gap of just over $8 million and be able to submit a budget to the mayor of $109,620 or $7 million increase. So next slide, Joanna. The next two slides are just historical data. It shows the local contribution, again, from the city's general fund, and then it shows the state aid amount. And if you look across the slide, you can see how the enrollment dips, peaks and valleys align with how the state aid could go up or down, and then how the local contribution could go up or down. But we rely on both funding sources. We can't just rely solely on on Chapter 70, because in good years it's really good, but then in years that we're looking at now, if we were to solely rely on Chapter 70, we would have a $14.7 million budget gap, which is far more than that $8 million. So we do need to rely on that local contribution to move us forward. And the second to last slide, the same thing. It kind of just gives a bar graph on the percentages of local contribution and Chapter 70 and how that makes up the total budget, just the operating budget. One thing to note, over $40 million in school-related expenses are paid out of the city's budget. So health insurance, SROs, other benefits for retired staff members, Medicare, crossing guards, things like that. So the city's budget definitely supports the school department at over $40 million. Next slide, please, Joanna. So per the city charter, we are set to meet with the city council, school committee, the mayor, the superintendent, in their offices on December 30th. So, we look forward to a discussion like this with city involvement, where they talk about revenues, we talk about other expenses of other departments and how we fit into that plan for FY27. So I think that meeting is really going to be really important on which road we take between December 30th and when the budget's due, just over, a month after that. So this expedited process, which we actually asked for, in year one is a little difficult, but I think in the end, why we asked for it will set us up for success moving forward. And then throughout January, February, March, there'll be budget discussions, budget hearings, and hopefully in April, May, we have a budget for FY27 that we can start focusing on. So that's the FY27 presentation for tonight.
Any questions?
I'll you tonight, buddy.
Oh my God, rocks, paper, scissors. Let's just go. Adam, you're up.
Sure, thank you. Let me first start with again, a positive for those that were not here at the last meeting, and that's the in-house transportation success that is at a savings. It's not a budget driver. It's at a savings of $689,000. And we are paying our higher salary to our bus drivers, and the system is working versus the failed vendor model. So the taxpayers are saving money because of our transportation fixes. And so there are a lot of positives in this budget. And at the other hand, there's also the challenges. And so as we go forward and think about this, obviously there needs to be a reduction from the current $8 million gap. It's just not feasible. I wonder if there are ways to align any future cuts with our existing strategic plan so that enrollment drops and funding gaps don't stop this plan from happening. It may continue to pause certain aspects, but it doesn't allow us to walk away from things that we value fully. Like, there's a big difference between reductions and pausing and complete cancellation and elimination. And that's where I think we need to really clearly explain when we're before the mayor and the council, what the impacts of the cuts are, how we're working to reduce our ask as best as possible within the constraints, what we're forced to propose, or what you're forced to propose to us in January, adjusting away from. What are we going to protect as our core values to strengthen, and what stability will look like when we rebalance with enrollment fluctuating and coming back. We really need to make sure we don't let this drastic enrollment change shake things up and stop the essential services, right? We all need to continue to promote our school district and invest in student achievement and our employees. And so, my own kind of red lines that I really hope we can protect are things such as core classroom instruction, student-facing supports, transportation, our contractual obligations. And then this is where I really hope that we can look at reductions, perhaps proportionally across schools where the enrollment declines, versus the really important offerings across our district that support student achievement and health, such as music, drama, art, SAGE, library, athletics, counseling, nurses, mental health support. We can't touch that in my mind. And if you agree with me, we should be clear with what we're advocating for as we go forward in this tough circumstance. So, just some thoughts to help shape where we go with the council and mayor and CFO and team to address these challenges. We're not going to be able to by any means fund it all. I mean, last year I voted against the budget because I thought we had an opportunity to get some additional revenue. I still think that $7 million, there's opportunity to talk about ways to make our $8 million gap get smaller, but I don't see there's a way to eliminate the gap completely by any means. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Ms. Mosher. Did you not? Okay.
Nope, that was all, Adam.
Any other questions or comments on this topic? Go ahead. No questions.
Okay. We'll move on. Next on the agenda for me is the annual vote needed for bus fees, athletic fees, and parking fees. They're in your packet this evening, and I am recommending no change to any of the fees. So there will be no fee for athletics. Let me just pull it up. Okay, so no fee for athletics, which is no change. Currently, there's no fee, so I recommend no fee next year. Parking at the high school, $125 per spot on the upper lot, $75 per spot on the lower lot. There's no change to that. So the recommendation would stay the same, $125 and $75. To note on that, there is a contract in the works to look at the high school parking lot to see if we can add any parking spots there. We're working with Beta, vendor there for that analysis. And then transportation, no change either. So $250 per student and $500 maximum family cap. So if you have 2 students, you pay $500. If you have 3 students, you pay $500. So it caps out at $500. No change to that for FY27. And that is my recommendation for this. And there is a vote that is needed to set that in place for FY27.
Right, I got you. So a motion to approve the recommended fees for FY27 of no fees for athletics, $125 per parking spot for the, I will take recusals in a minute, $125 per parking spot for the high school upper lot and $75 for the lower lot. Bus fees of $250 per student to ride the school bus with a $500 maximum family cap. Moved by Ms. Maskell.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Labarge. Are there any recusals?
Yes.
Ms. Moshe will be recusing. I'll give you a second. All right, any discussion? Go ahead.
Mr. Lynch, would you like to answer my question about parking you know I'm going to ask?
Oh my God, oh, sorry.
I don't expect you to read my mind. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make light of the situation because you know exactly what I'm about to ask after a terribly demoralizing budget conversation.
Yes.
So when is that Beta study expected to be done? And thank you so much for pursuing it. I have voted against the parking fee for the last 2 years, maybe 3, because I've been frustrated at the lack of progress on at least trying to fix the parking challenge at our high school. So I'm now going to be voting yes because I'm very impressed with your proactive move to finally invest and study it. And I'm just curious, when that study is going to have results.
The hope is within the next 3 months.
All right, as part of the scope, do you know if that includes looking at creative ideas such as relocating that playground that's possibly, again, I don't want to eliminate a playground, but could be moved slightly to allow that lower lot to have more spaces, and then the playground could be still an accessible part, looking at those type of ideas. I want to make sure those are part of the scope.
Yeah, I think the idea is to look at the entire property and see if changes like that can be made.
Okay, great. Thank you. My final comment is just on the recusal. I've checked with the Ethics Commission every year. I filed the right disclosure. There's an exemption that allows school committee members who pay bus fee or don't pay bus fee to vote on these things, so I am going to still participate. Thank you.
Sure. Any other discussion before we take a vote? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand to approve the recommended fees. 8-0, it passes. 1 recusal, Ms. Moshe. Can I just backtrack for 1 second on another thing? Where are we on school lunches? They're still being funded for the state. Are we still budgeting for them in addition, or we've cut that out of our?
No,
Okay.
We're part of CEP, so it's totally free.
It's totally free, and then is that
first
going to
lunch.
be renewed?
What's that?
When does that get renewed?
I think we are actually in the program till FY28, I believe.
Okay.
I'll fact check that and send it to you, but I think we are free for the next several years.
And then we're not including that in our budget at all?
That's
that
right. Yep.
One time, okay.
Food service has no impact on the operating budget.
Okay.
And just to be clear, the lunch and breakfast, the first breakfast and the first lunch are free.
Right, correct. Okay, thank you. Sorry, kind of a random side note. Up next, school committee budget. Do you want me to take this one?
Please, thank you.
Okay, so let I just find where I am in my notes. So the school committee department budget reductions and vote. So we previously voted and passed the school committee budget. This information's in your packet. Since then, we need to make further reductions. So in your packets, there are further additional proposed reduction, namely from the professional development line item. This is where the MASC conference and lodging and conference dues gets covered. The new number in your packet speaks to this particular line. Before we move forward, is there any particular discussion about the proposed cuts and the document that you have in your packet? Okay, since we can't just take back our initial vote without a separate motion, before I ask for the main motion, is there a motion to reconsider?
Motion to reconsider. Since we just voted on this last time, we have to do this procedurally. Thank you.
All right, motion to reconsider, Mr. Freudberg. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Moshe. Any discussion about reconsider, motion to reconsider? Okay, so all those in favor, raise your hand. 9 hands are up, 9-0. Motion to reconsider passes. Now, is there a motion to approve the recommendation to reduce the school committee department's budget line for professional development by $2,488 for a total of $12,512?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Freudberg.
Second.
Second by Mr. Robles. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
So I see the recommendation is to come off the MSC annual conference. Do we know what we actually spent in like the last 2 years on that from our budget?
We come in under, I think, on that one quite frequently.
We come in
Some
under.
of us don't use the hotel and not everybody
That's right.
goes.
And we budget for all 9 members to attend. So I think it's, personally, I see this as a spot where we can trim it down quite easily.
I can give you actuals.
Sure.
If you want. So FY '24, 7,120, so far about half, less than half. And then FY '25 was only 5,312.
Oh.
So I think that is a great place
Okay.
to reduce.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. I see 9 hands up, 9-0-0, it passes. Thank you. Up next, we have planning for the joint meeting of 12/30/2025. If there's nothing further, Mr. Lynch, I think this is mine too. Or is this, do you want to take this one?
No, that's yours.
Okay.
If you want, of course.
No, so we'll have your presentation with very few updates. And the updates to the city charter require a joint meeting with the school committee, city council, mayor, and SIFOC. It's been scheduled for December 30th at 7 p.m. in the Blummer Room. I have reached out and requested breakout rooms be added for our translation so that we can continue Spanish and Portuguese. I have not heard back, and I'm going to flag that for discussion. And with that, I will open it up for any additional discussion on any suggested planning for this meeting. Go ahead, Adam.
Thank you. I didn't realize translation was still pending. Thank you for advocating for that. You know, just like with any joint meeting, you have to collaborate across with all the different parties, and no one organization's rules supersede others. So it's about, we have a rule that requires translation, so hopefully that can be accommodated and be something that everyone in the city can benefit from. I was going to mention Mr. Lynch's PowerPoint. I think it's fantastic. Covering it, I think that's a perfect packet item material. Just before we leave the room, just make sure we understand that, if we're not going to reduce that budget number tonight, which is okay, like it's complex, we might need some more time, we at least need to absolutely get that done throughout the month of January. So, and then my second point is just the agenda draft that was sent around today. I think that's good, but I do think that if any member of this committee and member of the public was to read that draft, they would not have an understanding of what exactly was going to happen that night. So I do propose that our agenda list 3 minor changes to make it really clear that what's going to happen, and that we pass those recommendations on for the SIFOC City Council to mirror. I gave a heads up to the chair and superintendent Lincoln and the mayor earlier today on kind of my ideas. So I think, number one, at the top of the agenda, it would be helpful rather than have it just say discussion presentation. It should say discussion presentation on the FY27 budget development. And then we should specifically list the presentations that we expect. And Mr. Lynch, his presentation, he said he asked the COO to be on there, and that's expected, right? So just list presentation by the school department on initial FY27 planning in advance of the February 4th budget submission. And then also presentation by the mayor's office on the fiscal year 27 outlook and expenditures and revenues, et cetera. I think that that's going to be really helpful in setting the precedent for this really cool new budget meeting that is for the first time in city history that we can collaborate with the formal agenda setters of the city council, school committee, and SciFoc, and collaborate with the administration that has a role in the charter but doesn't technically have to follow the open meeting law like we have to follow. And I feel like that these ideas are hopefully resonate, reasonable, and helpful to let people understand exactly what's going to happen and have the packet materials associated with it. Thank you.
Unless there's any objection, I'll reach out to all those organizing with your suggested edits.
Yeah, if there's no objections and if this is simple, like I'd love to make that as a motion, so it's the full school committee, not just Adam.
Sure. No.
So moved.
For compliance. Moved by Mr. Freudberg. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll formalize this in a request that the agenda be updated. Moved by Mr. Freudberg, seconded by Mr. Labarge. Any further discussion to making those edits? Requesting those edits. Can't guarantee that they'll be made. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, 9 hands, 900 passes. Thank you for your suggestion. Thank you for the motion. And then, no, I'm just, anything else on January 12:30 before we move on from this topic? We have one motion, but we can still keep this topic open for discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
I would just love to be able to, I know the school committee has a different protocol for members-elect than the city council does, but we have a third new school committee and certainly new city council members. I would love for the members-elect to be invited to participate and ask questions and do all the things that we have been modeling here.
You are already invited, and you will absolutely be included. And city council doesn't actually have our rules too, but under our rules, you're absolutely welcome to join us. And you'll get the invites as well. Anybody else? 12:30. Worst case scenario, translation isn't an option. I'm just wondering what our contingency plan is for that. I'm hoping that they're able to, we're not the ones managing the Zoom. Okay. It's a question mark right now. Okay, we can move on unless there's any other discussion. We'll go on to transportation. Back to you, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you. In your packet is the monthly transportation update. So it shows by date, morning and afternoon, how many drivers we have, and monitors. We are seeing a little fluctuation here of drivers. Monitors are pretty steady, which is really nice for our minibuses. We do have staff in the office that cover when drivers are out, so that helps. The other part of the transportation update is the on-time performance. So you will see that in the afternoon, some percentages are high. We definitely have some work to do. I do want to just bring up that the morning percentages are very low. So we are getting buses to schools on time at a better rate than we have in the past. Other than Brophy, which is kind of an outlier, so we're looking into how we can adjust those routes. The majority of other schools are under 2%. And most of them are under 1.15%. So that's getting to school on time before the bell rings. I don't think I've been able to say that ever since I've been here. So, it's a testament to the work that's being done over in the bus yard. Our drivers are amazing. They're on time, they're efficient. And then we have Angela just in charge of that operation over there. She's done a tremendous job. So we know we're not 100% where we want to be. It's still going to be a work in progress. We're 3 months in to 3.5 months in to an in-house bus operation that's brand new to us. So I think we are on the right track. We still have a lot of work to do. You know, we still have families that don't have a bus yet, and we understand that. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a perfect operation. It's the best operation that we can put out there. So we know we have work to do. But the on time in the morning, I think, is something that can be focused on. Another thing that can be focused on too are athletics. We've had a significant, if not all, athletic trips covered between our bus drivers and the 15-passenger van. So that's been a game changer for athletics. They really can do their jobs in the athletic office versus trying to, or basically driving the flyer buses to get students to games. So with the help of our bus drivers, we've really been able to improve that operation over there. Still, we always have work to do, but things are getting better. And I think every month I'll be able to tell you that it's improving, and we'll make adjustments based on our experience. And, you know, in year 2, hopefully it's, you know, a really well-oiled machine, more than it is already. And we're able to accommodate all students. So that is my transportation update for tonight.
Up first, Ms. Moshe.
Thank you. All right, so I have a question that, because you just brought it up, but it was my question beforehand. You said that we still have kids waiting on a list. How many kids do we have on a wait list for a bus?
I don't know the exact number, but we do. They're ineligible students. So they're students in grades 7 to 12. More than likely, they're more than, say, a mile and a half, 2 miles away. So we have over 4,800 students transporting, but we do have some that are ineligible that are unable to get on a bus.
So with kids that have left the district, 688 of them.
Yep.
How many of those seats, I know you're not going to have that answer off the top of your head, have opened on the buses, and how possible is it for Angela to reroute some of the buses for efficiency and changes and challenges?
So she is constantly rerouting buses. If a student leaves, we're monitoring it, and then another student can be assigned. And we're rerouting, and we're making changes, I feel like, on a daily basis. So just know that we're monitoring those students that may have left or, you know, have been assigned and they're not riding, or maybe were assigned a month ago and are still not riding. We're reaching out and trying to figure out, do you need the bus or not, because we have a wait list. So we are constantly doing that.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Tovar, you're up.
Yes, I'm curious about any planning for registration for the next year. I know that registration has been a big pain point for a while, and so I just wonder if there's any plans to figure out how to make it less of a pain point.
Yeah, so communication early and often, and one thing that we are strongly considering is just assigning every single eligible student in the district, and the parents actually opt out instead of having to register in. We ran into some issues at the beginning of the year. We had a lot of eligible students that weren't on buses, whether they didn't apply on time or whatever it was. We can totally eliminate that by just assigning all eligible students right off the bat. And then they either opt out, or we find out within the first month or two that they're not going to ride the bus. And the idea is we have 86 buses. We're going to run 77 of them that will have seats, hopefully for the majority, if not all, students that need it. But I think making that change by assigning all eligible students is going to be a dramatic change to the operation.
So in doing that, will schools receive the bus allocations ahead of time? I understand that they get a list of the buses that are coming in, and I think that they don't get it well in advance. It comes in kind of late, and so they need to plan for staffing and to accommodate how many buses are coming in and out. In doing this change, will that actually help schools too?
I think it will help change. I think something else that needs to change is we set the deadline and we hold the deadline. And if you don't meet the deadline, you're not going to be guaranteed a bus on day one, because we try to extend that to capture as many students as we can. And when you do that, you delay the route creation. So I'll probably bring that at some point where here's the deadline. If you don't hit the deadline and you apply a day after, 2 days after, you're going to be on a list, because we're creating the routes with those students that applied on time, plus all the eligible students. By doing that, the routes will be done quicker, the families will get bus assignments quicker, and the schools will get their bus allocations quicker. Okay?
Mr. Freitberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm also very interested in that topic. Thank you, Ms. Tovar, for advocating for that, and more to come, I'm sure, and whether it's part of our calendar conversations or just more before next summer's break. My question is about the Hemingway statistics that in the afternoon just are not the outlier, I would call it, because there's still some higher numbers than I'd wish, but still like the one, at least over the last 3 years, that the afternoon at Hemingway has been really high. Are there some things outside of the school district control that should be looked at, such as DPW coordination if there's construction during the afternoon, or is the intersection at Edmonds, Edgell, and Water just that chronically rough? Like, are those the type of things? Is it mixed with other things? Are there other things that could be done? I'm just kind of curious what new things could be explored if those haven't yet been explored to work on solutions there, including are those, I know they're not doubled up runs, but are there kids from multiple schools being picked up? Are those the type of things that could be addressed somehow? Thank you.
I think with more buses next year, we'll be able to address those issues, because we do have students that ride King Dunning together, so the bus goes to 2 different schools. So if it gets to King and there's trouble loading that bus, it's going to be very late to Dunning. And same thing with Hemingway Potter. So with more buses, I think we can lessen that issue. But I don't think it's DPW construction. They are amazing partners with us. There's some things out of their control that they have to do some construction projects, but for the most part, they stay away from early in the morning drop off or pick up and drop off in the afternoon.
That's good to hear. I mean, again, you could probably predict what I'm going to say. Do you have to wait until a whole school year from now to address this? If, let's say, the 2 CDL drivers right now in the pipeline are able to, I can't believe I said the word pipeline after all the problems from the past, sorry. If they get hired, like, how do you allocate during the school year to make in-process school year fixes? I would just think that some of the top data points there, Fuller also has a 45% late rate. That's the highest of the middle schools. Like, how do you allocate that during the year? Even though there might be some family impacts, I hope that there's trade-offs considered, that those percent numbers can go down from lateness to give people more time back and less time for the kids on the buses.
Yeah, so that is part of the restructure of the routes when someone new is hired. The priority is to try to lessen that list of who's waiting for a bus still. So, but that is part of it. If we can get less students on a bus, obviously the bus is going to be shorter, the route's going to be shorter, and we can drop these percentages. So as we hire more drivers, that happens. So I hope every month I come here and it drops every month.
Thanks for the continued work on that, and I just, very hopeful that it doesn't have to be a fall 2026 fix, that perhaps could be some, as you do these monthly reports, that, just some hope. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Seeing no comments.
Okay. Finally, on my agenda is a request for a vote to approve the following 3 student activities at the high school. It is the Chinese Club, the Spanish Club, and the Literature and Art Magazine Club. Per DESE regulations, the school committee needs to approve any new clubs that are happening at the high school. So this is a request from the high school, and hopefully we can get a positive vote tonight, and the students can start meeting as a club.
Motion to approve. Is there one?
So move. Second.
Whoa. Mr. Robles with the motion, Mr. Labarge with the second. Any recusals before I take a vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. 9-0, it passes. Thank you, and thank you.
All set. Thank you for your support.
Yep. Up next, we have the annual evaluation of the school committee's executive assistant. Thank you to everyone for completing Joanna's evaluation and your thoughtful feedback. The summary is included in the packet, and the results came in overwhelmingly exemplary. We are truly grateful for her dedication and commitment. It was an absolute pleasure reading everyone's thoughtful comments. Joanna is truly the glue and the backbone of this operation and does so much for every member, and it's nice to see it all reflected in everyone's individual reports. Is there a motion, I'm sure people will want to comment as well, but is there a motion to approve the annual evaluation of the school committee's executive assistant?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Moshe, seconded by Mr. Labarge. Any further discussion?
Other than we're lucky to have her.
Lucky to have her.
Best.
Ms. Maskell.
I just want to say thank you to Joanna. She's amazing. So we're very lucky to have her.
Ditto that, right? Congratulations. So any further comments or questions? Okay. We will do all those in favor, raise your hand. 9-0-0. Motion passes. Thank you so much, Joanna. We'll move on to subcommittee reports. First up, Finance and Operations. I'll turn it over to Mr. Labarge to report on warrants.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the warrant, total of 1217, total of $1,939,419.69, and a payroll total of $6,814,672.48 on the dates of December 1st and December 10th. Thank you.
All right, up next, policy. Ms. Moshe, you're up.
Thank you. The policy subcommittee met December 2nd. We reviewed, I think we went over this last time. We approved the last open session for first reading JRA student records was requested for review by the administration as a list of information identified as directory information and the sharing of that information only within FPS community may be difficult to adhere to in certain aspects of school and district operations. Many changes were made during the subcommittee in order to meet FERPA regulations and 603 CMR. The next policy, ECAB, access to buildings and grounds, was approved in the November 5th, 2025 meeting as a new policy. This was reviewed again to make edits based on the Parks and Recs Department feedback. So I am looking for a motion to approve the updates to policy JRA, student records, and ECAB, access to buildings and grounds, for a second reading.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Labarge. Second by Mr. Freyberg. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Tremblay, at the last meeting, I talked about that fourth paragraph of the Parks and Recreation Building and Grounds section about further defining what non-school hours means. You mentioned like the signs say 5:30. Any further thought on whether that line that says during non-school hours should be amended to say after 5:30 or something different, or leave it the same? I just want to make sure that there's consistency of what the signs say versus what the policy says, versus it's not, in my mind, technically accurate that the Parks and Recreation Department issues permits for field use during non-school hours, because immediately following most schools, especially when there's explorers, they have the ability to permit or not permit, not the Parks Department, until 5:30.
Right, so I would view the Explorers as an extension of school hours, right? So it's still school-based. Am I interpreting that wrong? So after school hours, Explorers being inclusive of the school day program.
It would be 6 p.m.
I mean, I understand that, but I feel like this policy is more for the members of the public. So I'm just raising, is it worth clarifying that that line means, non-school hours starting at 5:30 p.m.? If that is a good solution, great. If not, I'm open to anything else. I just want to make sure there's no confusion here, because the signs say one thing and the policy says another.
Well, the policy doesn't specify a time,
Correct. Just says after-school hours.
right? So, but the signage specifies the time. So I guess what do you want to have the shelf life have? And I would say the policy should have the shelf life. So we don't have to come back and amend that with a time change if the Explorer's time changed, or if a school was done on a day which wasn't 5:30, and there happened to be a half day and there wasn't a programming extended, or there's a lot of variables, I think, that happen by grade level, by school, by field type. So I think or as, maybe it's simply as posted on signage, which do we have to want to change more frequently, and hopefully never, right? So there's a kind of a splitting of the difference. So the 5:30 posted, I think, was the compromise, because there's been historically 6 p.m. Explorer's ending time, but there are times when that doesn't happen, where the fields aren't being used. Why would we prevent the field use permitting if the field is not being used by the Explorers program? So I think you want to have some flexibility, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I honestly think the simplest thing to do is keep the language exactly the same, but just link to the school-by-school schedule. I think that solves it all. And that way, it's a document that we don't have to ever vote on. It's just there in the policy as a hyperlink, and it just has every individual school to give complete flexibility to help the Parks Department goals and make sure we're not infringing on school district and Explorer's rights to use that property.
And I think that would be fine to treat that as a procedural sort of side of it, as you mentioned. And then it also goes into that sort of summer planning conversation that would happen, right? To know how you're plotting out. We want to make sure if we're having a back-to-school night that we restrict and block that from being a parks use, so we don't impede parking for a back-to-school night or an open house event. So there's got to be that sort of collaboration, and to the extent we can forecast the map of the school year schedule, that could live in that sort of ancillary, related, linked document that you're describing. So I'd prefer to keep the language ambiguous and have the linked to a more specific document.
So would you and the committee consider a friendly amendment that does exactly what you just said, keep the language exactly the same, except under the cross-reference section where it has 6 other citations, we add a 7th that hyperlinks to a document that by, 2 months, 3 months from now, you'll populate? Does that work?
It works for me, but probably more like June, but before we populate it for the next school year, you mean? Or you mean for this year in the springtime? We could try, I hear you. Yes, I think that will work. I just don't want to overpromise on the deliverable.
Would the deliverable align with once the calendar's done? Once the calendar's set for next school year?
I think it's going to require a conversation that I have to have with Parks and Rec about what their use is and with athletics. So it's just going to require some conversation. Can we just call it by spring of 2026?
I'm comfortable. I was going to say June. Spring's good. Let's just spring. More flexibility for
I'll
you
take spring.
in Parks.
Sold.
I think my goal is met by that. I think that is a very good.
I think it's a nice
Thank you.
compromise position. Thank you, Mr. Foiberg. If that works for Madam Chair and of the policy sub.
Sure. Do you want to make an motion to amend with your
It's a
edit?
friendly amendment.
How about I start with a friendly amendment, and if anyone objects, we can vote on the amendment.
There you
But
go.
Since we're all here, you don't need to do a roll call vote. We could just say, is this a friendly amendment? If anyone objects, we'll make it to a motion.
Okay, so motion to approve. I have to read this all again. Thanks, Adam.
Knowing our exemplary executive assistant, she already wrote the minutes for what I was about to say, based on last meeting.
No, she did not.
You know this
She
stuff.
didn't. Motion to approve the updates to policy JRA, student records, and ECAB with a friendly amendment to add a hyperlink to the calendar and whatever you just agreed on. Access to buildings and grounds for the second reading.
Thank you.
So moved. I mean, are you asking the same? Yeah, moved by me, seconded by Ms. Maskell.
Moved by Ms. Barnhill, seconded by Ms. Maskell. All in favor, raise your hand. Passes, thank you so much.
We literally just fixed a 4-decade gap, so thank you for dealing with my issues there.
There you go.
Okay.
Solutions, girl.
All right. The gifts were in your packet. Are there any recusals before I read them off? Okay, so I'm going to look for a motion in a second. The gifts, equity, diversity, and community development, expanded learning time, blocks, Harmony Grove, fine and performing arts. High school, Hemingway, items include clothing and food, funds to support climate-related activities and field trips, Carrig, staff lunch, field trips, violin, holiday presents, and storybooks. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Moshe, seconded by Ms. Maskell. All those in favor, or any discussion? Oh, I gotcha. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, 900. Thank you. Passes. Minutes to approve the open session minutes of November 5th. Is there a motion? Moved by Ms. Maskell, seconded by Ms. Moshe. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. 9-0, right, 9-0, okay. Subcommittee minutes. These minutes are for some subcommittees that will not be meeting again before the end of the term and are not yet approved or posted. The executive assistant has been working on gathering and completing ones on the list, but not all are ready yet for approval and will be added to future meetings. Even if you were not on a subcommittee or present at a meeting, you can vote on the minutes per Robert's rules, so they can be approved. It's not you affirming you were an eyewitness to the events, but rather your confidence in the secretary and the other members in the process that produced the minutes. All right, the minutes that are ready for approval are Teaching and Learning Subcommittee, May 1st, 2023, June 5th, 2023, October 23rd, 2023, Rules and Administration Subcommittee, January 24th, 2022, January 31st, 2022, January 22nd, 2024, Charter Commission Subcommittee, September 19th, 2023, School Building Committee Application and Review Subcommittee, December 4th, 2023, Climate Change, Environment and Sustainability Subcommittee, December 13th, 2022, Finance and Operations Subcommittee, July 23rd, 2024, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee, February 9th, 2023, October 10th, 2023, Health and Wellness Subcommittee, October 10th, 2024, and July 10th, 2025. Does anyone want to separate any of those? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes of Teaching and Learning. I read them all already. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Maskell, seconded by Ms. Moshe. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Looks like we got all 900. Passes. All right, on to farewell remarks from outgoing school committee members. So we would like to extend our sincerest thanks to our outgoing school committee members for their dedicated service. Serving on the school committee requires a great deal of time, commitment, sacrifice, and just thoughtful dedication, and we are deeply grateful for all you have given our schools and our community. This is totally optional, but I'll hand it over to any outgoing members who would like to speak in any order. It does not. Ms. Maskell, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whew, excuse me if I cry. And I have to read it because I will really bawl. So bear with me. Thank you, so everybody can hear me cry. Sitting here tonight at my last school committee. Sorry. Whew. At my last school committee meeting feels surreal. 8 years ago, I stepped into this role hoping to make a difference. What I didn't expect was how much you, this community, this team, the students would change me. This work has been one of the greatest honors of my life. It has stretched me, humbled me, lifted me, and taught me more than I can put into words. I've had the privilege of seeing up close the heart, dedication, and love that make this district what it is. And that's something I'll carry with me always. As my term comes to an end, I want to share with you that choosing not to run again was not an easy decision that I made. My health and my family need more of me right now, and this is the moment for me to step away. But I want to be very clear. I'm not stepping away because I'm not done believing in this work. If anything, I believe in it now more than ever. To my colleagues, thank you for sitting beside me through long nights, tough conversations, and moments of true joy. To our staff and administrators, your dedication is the heartbeat of our schools, and it's been an honor to support your work. To our families, thank you for trusting me, questioning me, and partnering with me. And to our students, I'm sorry. You are the reason I said yes 8 years ago, and you will always be the reason I cheer for this district. This community has become part of who I am. Even though I won't be sitting here at this desk anymore, I'll still be right here, rooting for you, supporting you, and believing in you. Thank you for the privilege of serving. It has meant more to me than you'll ever know. Thank you.
I'll go. First, thank you, Tiffany, for sharing your feelings, and appreciate all the hard work you put into this and the district, and your commitment to the students. I just wanted to thank you all. This has been an honor, and I appreciate all of your student-centric focus, your just commitment to the district and to the students. And I'm very appreciative that I got to serve with you, alongside of you, and I will continue to support you all the best that I can going forward. Bob and Lincoln, I take my hat off to you. I know it's not an easy job, and I know realistically, I know it's a lot. So I wanted to most sincerely thank you for the work you do and the commitment you made, the long hours, and your passion. It is, you both really exemplify doing work that is gratifying, and I think that you all are really strong examples of the commitment that Framingham needs to continue to progress. To the oncoming school committee members, good luck. It is an honor. It's a great group. They collaborate well, and also they have a strong backbone with Joanna to support you all. So you guys are in good hands, and I think you guys will definitely lead the district in the right direction going forward. Again, thank you all. It really has been an honor. It's been my pleasure, and I am nothing more than a phone call away. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, as my time on the school committee comes to a close, I want to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to serve alongside such dedicated individuals. This journey has been incredibly rewarding, and I've learned so much about what it takes to keep a school system running smoothly. I wish the committee continued success. I'm not going to be here, but I'll still hear about all the politics somehow at home. I put my own goodbyes to each of you in a little note I left for you. To Brent, you'll be in this seat, well, I don't know if you'll get this desk, but I wish you all the luck in carrying District 6, and be nice to your city councilor. He can be difficult sometimes. And I hope everything goes well with this new budget for the charter. That's the only thing I said. We had so much time last year, and you have 1 month. I give you hats off to you guys if you get it done in the month. But I'll miss you all.
Thank you all again. We have some members that have asked to be recognized in addition, so Mr. Freudberg, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Serving with all three of you, Valerie, Dave, Tiffany, we are a high-functioning team, and we are losing a third of our high-functioning team. I'm really going to miss you, and thank you for your public service and for really doing what our training association calls a thankless job. None of the three of you are in this for yourselves at all. You're part of the team to help support student achievement in our community, so thank you. I do have some bonus words to say about Tiffany. We were elected in the inaugural city class together, served 8 years together. So I do just want to give her a bonus shout out for that. The first time I remember meeting you, Tiffany, was at one of the summer concerts when we were newly candidates together. And you introduced yourself as just a mom looking to make a difference. And wow, what a difference you've made. You're the first one to ever say in-house busing. Like, by far, you get the credit for, in 2018, in this room, starting the momentum that took a long time, but you helped make that possible. You helped reform our transparency issues from a town to a city to improve how this committee functions. You solved a chronic lunch shaming challenge. Live at a meeting, unplanned, handwriting with pencil, a policy change with Jeff and with others to solve something. A 9-0 vote to fix a chronic gap. You fixed the warrant process with Lincoln. And during the pandemic, when you and I were chair and vice chair, you calmed me down often. I mean, that was a weird time. I don't want to go back in time and think about those times, but you helped me, I believe, help our committee, help our community by having updates and transparency, even when we didn't know the answers. We gave the superintendent team a platform to talk openly about that. And you were an essential behind-the-scenes player to help with crisis communications and all the things that we were able to do to balance all those rough challenges in the 2020 to 22 era. And finally, you were there where we lost Karen and helped with that. And you were there for some of the great times too, with some great fiscal times and some great accomplishments and great policies. And you taught me to always focus on family first, and then the school committee and the school department family. And I'm so glad you have family represented here today, and thank you to them as well for all the time that they spent involved in your world and supporting you to be here with us. Thank you, and I will miss you.
Thank you so much. All right, up next, Ms. Moshe.
Thank you. Didn't I have it on? Thank you all for being role models to me, because God knows Jen knows kind of questions. I got all the questions, and Valerie, she's great at saying, Jen, no more questions. But thank you for your service. Just to let you know, we did get you some flowers, and we have cake to celebrate your service with us and the fact that you're leaving and that we're also sad, so stay for cake. In true Tiffany form, we got cake. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moshe. Thank you, Mr. Freudberg, for your words. Anyone else? All right, on behalf of the whole school committee, thank you so much for your service, and we're going to take you up on that phone call if we need you. All right, seeing no further discussion and questions, we will go to public comment. Anybody here wish to speak at public comment for our second? Okay, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Robert Bowles, District 4, 64 years in District 4. The last 30 years here at these meetings. And it's good to hear our administrators talking some common sense on the budget. Early retirement buyout in this city would be a disaster. I hope everyone has a happy and healthy new year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will take so our next meeting is a joint meeting with City Council, Mayor, and SIFOC on Tuesday, December 30th at 7 p.m. And the next school committee meeting is on January 7th, 2026. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second. Moved by Mr.
Moved by Mr. Labarge, seconded by Ms. Moshe. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go roll. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, 9:00. This meeting is adjourned at 9:44 PM.